All of us parents know that young kids ask a lot of questions, a lot. And it can be hard to know how much information to tell them, especially when it comes to tough conversations about issues like politics, gun violence, or homelessness. Grace Bastidas is the editor-in-chief of Parents, and she joins us now with tips on how we can talk about complex topics with our kids. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Some topics are harder than others. Last night we were looking at the moon and my daughter, who's 3, said, "Can we touch the moon? Can we reach out and touch the moon?" I said, "No, the moon is really far away.
Really far, yeah.
Let's say goodnight to the moon and go to sleep." But then there's hard conversations. When the news is on, we watch a lot of news in our house, I fast forward through violence. I don't want her to see that stuff. But what should we do? Should parents try to shield their kids from these tough conversations, or, should they try to tackle them preemptively?
So as caregivers, we want to give our kids a sense of the world that we live in and help them make sense of it. And, depending on your child's age, there are some topics that you may want to refrain from talking about, but you also want to help them navigate life's challenges by getting into certain things before they even bring it up. So if they haven't, usually you talk to a kid when they bring it up, it affects their life, or it's meant to keep them safe. But there are topics like death, racism, consent that you may want to broach ahead of time so that they can help just be human beings and navigate the world that we live in.
I'm in the death conversation phase with the 5-year-old Teddy because he asked me, "Am I gonna die?" Meaning me, and I was like, "Well, yeah,
like
but
you
yeah,
or
like
him?
me, like," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I don't want you to die." And I'm like, "Don't worry, it's gonna be a long time." But then before you know it, you're in a conversation where like he's not getting it, and you just confirmed a thing that he was afraid of.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do really. Are there guidelines for death?
For sure. So with younger kiddos, you want to start with the basic facts. They don't need long explanations, right? So talk to them maybe while they're playing or coloring, especially if it's an overwhelming topic that can be kind of emotional. And they're going to ask tons of questions. That's what kids do. They're naturally curious. So with something like death, definitely do not include anything that can be confusing to them by saying that grandma or abuela is in heaven now or in a better place. You want to be honest and concrete. Mm-hmm. And yes, they're going to ask, "But what about you?" And you can say that, "Well, grandma was really sick and that's why she died." But it's good to even just plant those seeds by having conversations when you're out and seeing the falling leaves and how the trees are, shedding leaves and dying. So
Isn't that a pretty tree? The fall is lovely. Those trees are dying.
Well, you're simplifying them.
Is less more? Like, should we try to slow down when we're answering questions to not provide too much information?
Definitely, you want to provide just the basic information, especially with those younger kids. And with elementary school kids, give them the information, give them the facts, but also provide anything that can be uplifting. And books, stories, personal experiences can be really useful, especially if the topic is complex. But one of the most important things you can do is give them space to share their feelings, be it sadness, fear, whatever it is. You want to reassure them that it's perfectly normal to feel that way.
Go ahead.
One time we were walking and there was a homeless person who was laying on the ground. And so my daughter said, "Oh, that person's sleeping." And so I wasn't really sure what to say. And I said, "Yes, maybe they are sleeping, maybe they're tired." But what is the one thing that you say that we should ask whenever we get a difficult question?
So whenever you get a difficult question, find out where they heard it from, how they got that information in terms of seeing somebody sleeping on the street. Obviously, they're seeing it themselves, but just find out what they think about it. What have you heard, and what do you think is going on, so that you can clarify any misconceptions, because kids all talk to each other as well. So chances are in school they're sharing information and trying to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. I also like the reminder that you don't actually have to answer your child. Sometimes you can just say, "I'm sorry, I'm not taking questions right now."
You can be like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Well, you don't. If your child comes to you with a difficult question, you don't have to answer it right away.
I love
Take a beat.
Grace Bastidas.
Okay, all right.
Great information. Parents is a wonderful resource. We really appreciate you being on.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
me.